Hey guys, this is Drop the Twinkie, and I felt like doing a little bit of a different video than usual, still pretty much reptile related. I guess I'm going to talk about substrates today. There's a lot of different substrates out in the market. You have everything from your jungle floor kind of cypress mulch bedding to your coconut husk to your eco earth, aspen bedding, even to paper towels. Pretty much whatever you can use that's safe and effective, it gets used. I specifically use one of 4 different kinds of substrates. It all depends on which animal I'm working with. I'll start off first with my adult corn snakes and my ball python and my hognose. I keep them all on just regular old aspen bedding. I use the thicker, coarse, generic aspen bedding rather than your flukers or Zoomed, the more reptile-specific beddings. I personally like it because it is cheap. I only paid, I think, $11 or $12 for this whole bag. It's compacted, so you actually get a little bit more than what you're thinking that you're getting. This bag's actually lasted me almost about a half a year now. And I do regularly change out all of my tanks. Also, the other benefit I see to this stuff is it is a lot... Oh, I can't zoom. It's a lot thicker than the Zoomed or the Flukers aspen bedding. And I find this beneficial with my adult corn snakes because they like to burrow a lot, and it does compact down when they do move over it, but it allows for them to burrow under it and use it as a hide and to feel more secure. I personally don't really like the Zoomed aspen just because I feel like regardless of how much I cleaned out the tank and spot cleaned, it still retained an odor, whereas this stuff it doesn't, not so much. As you can see, the hognose, I have them on aspen as well. They like to burrow underneath the ground. The ball python, I have him on aspen more or less because it's more visually appealing. I have his tank as a more of a centerpiece than I do for breeding purposes or whatnot. So I try to make it look a little bit nicer than most of the other tanks. I will not use jungle floor on him just because I had a run-in with mites, and he didn't have them when I bought him. None of my other animals had mites, but magically when I put him on jungle floor he ends up with mites. So it's a little bit of a negative connotation, and ever since then I've refused to use it. I did go to buy a big bulk buy of cypress bedding from like Home Depot, but I was not thrilled with the cut, so I haven't used that with them either. So for the time being, until I can figure out something that I really want to do with his tank, I'm just going to use aspen. It works fine. I spray his tank down whenever I need to, so I don't have to worry about his humidity. Okay, enough about aspen. The next kind of substrate that I use with just my juvenile corn snakes and my crested gecko is paper towels. Now, I originally used just regular old aspen bedding with these guys too, but they are a little bit messier for some reason than my adult corn snakes, and we figured if it helped save a little bit of money, try to get them on paper towels. And I just put, pretty girl, I just put 2 paper towels down and then their water bowl, and they don't seem too bothered by it. I will not use paper towels with my larger corn snakes because with Exige I put him on paper towels once because I wasn't sure if the bedding was the problem I was having with him a while back ago. He was absolutely petrified when I put him on paper towels. So since then, I will not put him on paper towels. The two female corn snakes, they like to burrow too much, so I figured they wouldn't benefit from the paper towels at all. Whereas these guys just kind of lay on top of their bedding and just chill out. So it works out with them. And it's easy to clean out. You just have to make sure that you keep an eye on the tanks a little bit, well, I shouldn't say a little bit closer than normal because you should always keep an eye on the tanks, but with paper towels you really have to keep an eye because the minute it does get soiled you need to take that out and replace it, like replace the whole tank. Whereas with the aspen bedding you just pull out the soiled bedding. Next, I use Eco-Earth for my Pac-Man frog, just because it holds humidity. You can get a decent amount of bedding out of one brick. It's pretty cheap, and he likes it because he can burrow underneath into the bedding, and he's the only one I use the Eco-Earth with. And last, I just used regular old place sand that I picked up from Home Depot or Lowe's, pretty much whatever hardware store. Anyways, I just used the play sand with the leopard geckos. Yes, I know you're not supposed to have, you know, leopard geckos or bearded dragons on sand. You're supposed to use repti-carpet or tile, or... Here's my theory on it. Everybody has their own idea of what's proper husbandry. And yes, everybody understands, you know, what is generally good and what is generally bad. But there are some things that, as long as you're using good husbandry skills, it kind of doesn't matter. Like with sand. The major issue with sand with things like leopard geckos and bearded dragons is when they're young and they're hunting after crickets, they go to strike down, they miss, they ingest some sand. Causes impaction, never good. But honestly, that could happen with just about anything. It's all about, you know, keeping an eye on your animals. Either, if you do use sand, feed them in a different container. Since I feed all my crickets, feed all my leopard geckos mealworms, I feed them by hand with tongs. So I don't really have to worry about them ingesting the sand unless they do it on their own time, which they don't seem to do it. They don't seem to be too interested in it. They just kind of dig around in it. So really, I say sand's not really a bad thing. You just have to be cautious of what you do. Make sure that your husbandry technique is, you know, gonna support your decision. It's kind of sidetracking a little bit. It's kind of like ball pythons. A lot of people are like, oh, they're terrestrial animals. They don't need anything but a little bit of bedding or newspaper and a hide. As you can see, bamboo branch, stick. I've woken up many of times to see this snake all the way up at the top of this tank. Ball pythons do love to climb. I mean, yeah, they're very heavy-bodied snakes, but they will climb. It's just like corn snakes. Corn snakes are fairly terrestrial, but they will climb. You give any snake the opportunity to do something, and they will do it. So, sorry to kind of go off on a rant there, but yeah, that's just a little bit about substrates. Like I said, there are other methods you could use. I know a lot of bearded dragon owners and breeders, if they don't use sand, they use either newspapers or tile. Because from what I've heard, tile seems to help keep the nails down. I'm not too sure. I don't personally own bearded dragons, so I wouldn't really know. But okay, there's also a repti-carpet, which a lot of people do tend to use. You just get 1 or 2 strips. You make sure you wash them out every now and then. I guess that works. Then you do have your coconut husk, your jungle floor. It's also about making sure that you get bedding that's good and not nasty. Oh, one other bedding. You do have the really, really fine aspen, the sandy chips, which I might switch with these guys because it doesn't seem to be too expensive. You get a decent amount with it. So I might try that out. But yeah, that's just a little bit about substrates. If you have any questions, feel free to message me, leave a comment. I'm pretty prompt on getting answers back, so yeah. See you later, guys.